Each morning, you face a choice. Start with clarity or get swept into chaos. Before the emails, before the noise, there's a quiet moment. That moment is powerful because what you tell yourself first thing in the day shapes how you respond to everything that follows. And that's where this begins. This isn't hype, it's grounding. These 12 Stoic affirmations aren't feel-good quotes. They're mental armor, forged from ancient wisdom. You don't repeat them to get motivated. You repeat them to become unshakable, to train your mind before the world tries to shape it for you. Because if you don't take control of your focus, your emotions, and your energy in the morning, someone else will. This is your daily act of sovereignty, a moment to return to your center, reclaim your peace, and lead with strength. So before you scroll, before you speak, begin here. Let these words shape your day, not with stress, but with stillness and power. And if this helps, like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more Stoic clarity in a noisy world. Peace isn't something you wait for, it's something you train for, and it starts now.
Number 1.
Today I will not be disturbed by things outside my control. There's a line from Epictetus that slices through the noise of modern life. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. With that one sentence, he drew a sacred boundary, the line between your inner sovereignty and the world's chaos. In the stillness of morning, before the world lays claim to your mind, there is no truth more important. Your peace is not public property. Not everything deserves a reaction. Not every inconvenience is worthy of your energy. You are not here to attend every fire that others light. You are here to guard your clarity like a fortress. And yet, as the day unfolds, the challenge will come. You will encounter delays, disrespect, unexpected detours. People will be thoughtless. Technology will glitch. Plans will collapse. You'll be tempted to overthink a message, defend yourself against a subtle jab, or let a stranger's rudeness spiral into hours of mental noise. But these are not your enemies. They are neutral. What disturbs you is not what happens. It's how you interpret it. Marcus Aurelius, writing not as a ruler, but as a student of life, reminded himself, if you are disturbed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. That estimate is yours, and it can be changed. That shift from reflex to reason is the essence of discipline. To embody this affirmation is to practice inner stillness, not passivity but power. When something external tries to provoke you, pause, breathe, say quietly, "This is outside my control. It does not deserve my peace." This is not avoidance. It is restraint. The space between what happens and how you respond is where your true power lives. The person who protects that space protects their life. Nothing wastes a day faster than handing your emotional state to someone else's dysfunction. Let your pause be your power. Let your silence be your shield. A reactive mind is a vulnerable one, but a calm mind is a dangerous mind. Clear, sharp, immovable. You don't rise by controlling others. You rise by mastering yourself. And if you forget, that's okay. Begin again. Each time you reclaim your response, you weaken the grip the world has on you. You become less owned, less swayed, more rooted. That's what this is, a daily return to what cannot be shaken. This mindset is not a theory. It is forged in suffering. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the horrors of Auschwitz, left behind a truth that echoes Stoicism to its core. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude. That choice is always yours. In choosing well, you reclaim yourself. So today, choose well. Let others react. Let the world behave as it does. But you stand grounded. Hold fast to the inner place the world cannot reach, because in that place, you are free.
Number 2.
My thoughts are mine. My reactions are mine. In a world that constantly pulls at your attention, it's easy to forget that your inner life belongs to you. But the Stoics never did. They began each day with one unshakable truth. Your mind is your domain. Your thoughts, your judgments, your reactions. These are not inherited, imposed, or assigned. They are chosen. And when you forget this, you open the door to chaos. Because the moment you believe someone else controls your feelings, you become their puppet. We often say things like, "She made me angry, unsure. That ruined my day." But these are illusions. No one can crawl inside your consciousness and twist the wires. What they do may trigger a signal, but your interpretation is the amplifier. Epictetus puts it clearly. It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about them. The insult isn't what wounds you, it's your belief that you've been diminished. The delay isn't the suffering, it's your expectation that things should have gone your way. The power is not in the event, it's in your lens. This is not about suppression, it's about authorship. You can feel anger and still refuse to obey it. You can feel fear and still act with dignity. That space between emotion and action, that pause, is where character is formed. And the only person who can protect that space is you. Each time you pause, you reclaim the pen, you rewrite the script, and in that rewriting you grow stronger. Consider Marcus Aurelius. Every day, he woke up to pressure, criticism, betrayal, even from those closest to him. And yet in his journal, he returned to a single idea: choose not to be harmed, and you won't be. He wasn't pretending life didn't sting. He was deciding not to hand his soul to it, because mastery of emotion isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. He knew his mind was his fortress, and he defended it with vigilance. To live this affirmation is to stop outsourcing your peace. It's refusing to let someone's bad mood rewrite your story. It's learning to walk away from disrespect without carrying it home in your head. It's a quiet act of defiance to say, that's theirs. This, how I respond, is mine. Even in conflict, even in insult, even in silence, there is always a breath between stimulus and response. Take it. That breath is where your power lives, and when taken consistently, it becomes a habit, one that forms the core of real freedom. So today, return to this truth. My thoughts are mine. My reactions are mine. No one decides what lives in my mind but me. The world can tempt, provoke, and distract, but I remain the guardian of my inner life, and I guard it not with fear, but with strength.
Number 3.
Let others act according to their nature. I will act according to mine. The world will show you many things today: rudeness, kindness, selfishness, generosity, cruelty, beauty. Some people will disappoint you, others will surprise you. But one truth remains constant. People behave according to who they are, not who you want them to be. The Stoics understood this deeply, and they accepted it, not with bitterness, but with clarity. You cannot control the nature of others. You cannot force a liar to be honest or make the self-absorbed suddenly become self-aware. You can set boundaries, you can speak truth, but you cannot rewrite someone else's character. And the more you try, the more exhausted and resentful you become. Epictetus said, "When someone acts badly toward you, remember that they do so according to their own principles, not yours." Trying to impose your standard on someone who hasn't chosen it is like asking a storm to. But here's where your strength begins. You don't have to match their energy. You don't have to mirror dysfunction. You don't have to lose your standard just because someone else never built one. You can choose calm when they choose chaos. You can choose patience when they choose provocation. You can act from your own values, even when they don't, especially when they don't. That's where integrity sharpens. That's where peace begins. Marcus Aurelius lived this principle surrounded by politics, manipulation, and flattery. He could have mirrored it. Instead, he said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, don't echo what you despise. Don't become what you're trying to rise above. When you act from your own nature, you break the cycle. You take your power back not by controlling others, but by refusing to let them contaminate your character. To live this affirmation is to protect your standard like a sacred flame. You let people reveal who they are, and you believe them the first time, but you don't follow them down. You don't meet disrespect with more disrespect. You hold the line, not out of pride, but out of principle, because you know that the real threat isn't the insult, it's the erosion of your values. And once your values are gone, so is your freedom. So today, repeat this with quiet strength. Let others act according to their nature. I will act according to mine. I don't need them to change in order to stay steady. Their chaos is not my cue. Their behavior is not my blueprint. My standard is not reactive, it is chosen, and I protect it not with ego, but with clarity. I choose to live above the noise. Not because I'm better, but because I've decided I won't be pulled down.
Number 4.
What is essential cannot be taken from me. Every day the world tries to convince you that your value lives outside yourself, that you're only as worthy as your job title, your bank balance, your beauty, or your reputation. And if those things disappear, so does your confidence. But the Stoics rejected that illusion. They taught us that real worth is never found in the things others can give or take away. It's found in what you carry within, the choices you make, the principles you hold, and the clarity you live by. Seneca once wrote, "A good character, once established, is not easily overthrown." Why? Because character isn't stored in the opinions of others. It doesn't depend on applause or validation. Your courage, your temperance, your reasoning, these aren't rented from society. They are owned. They don't wither when neglected by the world. If anything, they grow stronger when you're tested. These inner assets are your permanent wealth. They don't crash when the market does. They don't disappear when the spotlight fades. They stay because they were never external to begin with. Yes, you may lose things. You may lose income. You may lose friends. You may even lose your status. But none of that takes your essence. Instead, loss reveals it. When life removes what's non-essential, it reveals what was truly yours to begin with. That's why the Stoics didn't fear adversity. They welcomed it as the moment of truth. The winds don't shake the mountain. They show you it cannot be moved. Consider Nelson Mandela. They stripped him of power, of position, of public presence, but they could not strip his values. He walked out of prison with more moral authority than those who locked him up, because what was essential in him had been sharpened, not broken. Strength refined by silence, dignity hardened by time, principles tested and proven. And that's the mark of someone who never traded the internal for the external. To live this affirmation means you stop begging the world to tell you who you are. You stop negotiating your peace based on recognition. You root yourself in something the world doesn't control. You live by your compass, not the crowd. You measure your life not by how it looks, but by how it holds together when no one is watching. And here's what makes it powerful. Once you truly realize that what matters most can't be taken, your peace deepens. You become unbothered by rumors, unshaken by rejection. You don't fear change. You don't chase validation, because your strength doesn't live in what changes. It lives in what stays. That's where your freedom is, and no one, not the critic, not the crowd, not even misfortune, can touch it. So today, speak this truth with certainty. What is essential cannot be taken from me. I may lose comfort, I may lose applause, I may lose ease, but I will not lose myself, because what defines me lives within me, and that part of me, untouched, unseen, unshakable, remains forever mine.
Number 5.
I will observe before I speak. I will pause before I act. In a world where everyone rushes to react, silence becomes strength. We're taught to respond quickly, to emails, to insults, to bad news. But the Stoics taught something different. They taught that between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies the only real power you'll ever have, the power to choose. Epictetus reminded us that it's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. And those judgments often come too fast, too emotional, too clouded. That's why the Stoic trains himself not just to think, but to wait, to watch, to let the first wave pass, because the first reaction is often not clarity. It's habit, it's ego, it's fear pretending to be insight. The pause is where wisdom begins. In that pause, you ask, is this helpful? Is this necessary? Will this still matter tomorrow? Most people skip this step, and so they live in cycles of regret, saying things they didn't mean, doing things they didn't intend, digging holes they later have to climb out of. The Stoic avoids that trap, not by being passive, but by being disciplined. Restraint is not weakness, it's precision. Think of Viktor Frankl. In the most horrific conditions imaginable, he realized this truth. Even when everything is taken from you, one freedom always remains. The freedom to choose your attitude, to pause before deciding, to observe before reacting, and that freedom became his power. It allowed him not just to survive, but to teach others how to live. Marcus Aurelius practiced the same pause. In his private reflections, he questioned his impulses before acting. He reminded himself that time reveals truth, that stillness is strength, and that no hasty word ever fixed what patience could prevent. The same is true for you. When someone disrespects you, you don't have to reply. When you're criticized, you don't have to defend yourself instantly. When a door closes, you don't have to force another one open. In fact, the less you react, the more control you gain. Because reactions belong to the world, but response belongs to you. And remember, it's not about never speaking or never acting. It's about choosing the right time, the right tone, the right purpose. The Stoic is not silent because he is afraid. He is silent because he is focused. A focused person doesn't waste words. They don't move unless it means something. And this is why their actions carry weight. Their presence commands respect, because they're not everywhere. They are intentional. So pause, then speak with clarity, then act with integrity. So today, say it with conviction. I will observe before I speak. I will pause before I act. Because in stillness, I see more. And in that space between reaction and response, I reclaim my power. Number 6, nothing that happens today will be entirely new. I have seen it before. Every day tries to surprise you. A cruel word, a delay, a mistake, a disappointment. And each time the mind says, why this? Why now? But the Stoic mind replies, this is not new. I've seen this before. Because life repeats itself. Not in the details, but in the pattern. The faces change, but the tests remain. People interrupt. Expectations go unmet. Plans fall apart. And if you've lived long enough, you've seen this cycle before. So instead of reacting like it's a betrayal, you begin to treat it like training. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you're not facing anything unprecedented. To him, each hardship was a recurring lesson. Each disruption was just another part of the same game. And when you view life this way, through the lens of recurrence, you don't panic, you don't personalize, you simply prepare. This affirmation doesn't mean you become cold. It means you become calm. because you've studied the pattern. You know what tends to come next, so when today brings tension, you recognize the rhythm. When someone tries to provoke you, you've seen that face before. If not in them, then in someone else. You've seen passive aggression, you've seen betrayal, you've seen chaos, and more importantly, you've seen what happens when you don't let it shake you. Think of Eleanor Roosevelt, criticized relentlessly, betrayed by close allies, and pressured from all sides. She didn't react with shock. She responded with steadiness. Her secret? She had seen it before, in hardship, in loneliness, in resistance. And each time she met it with strength because she treated it as familiar. Not fatal. The Stoic trains for this. The Stoic rehearses adversity so that when it shows up again, it doesn't steal your peace. That harsh comment, not new, that lost opportunity, seen it, that overwhelming to-do list, handled it before, and if you handled it then, you can handle it now. Maybe even better this time. To live this affirmation is to shift your mindset from surprise to steadiness. It's to replace "why me" with "of course." Of course this happened, life tests, people waver, mistakes occur, but none of this is shocking unless you forget how often it's happened before. You've survived disappointment before. You've handled delays, losses, rejections. When you say, "I've seen this before," you are not denying difficulty. You are reclaiming your confidence. The Stoics call this premeditatio malorum, preparing the mind for what may come so it never catches you off guard. This is not pessimism. This is mastery. And mastery means this: when life knocks again, you don't flinch. You pause and say, "Welcome back. I've been expecting you," because now you know what to do. So today, say it with strength. Nothing that happens will be entirely new. I have seen it before. And because I have seen it, I will not fear it. I will face it. Not with panic, but with presence. Not with surprise, but with certainty. Number 7, I expect discomfort and I welcome the lesson in it. Discomfort is not a mistake. It's not a punishment. It's a signpost. In the Stoic path, pain is not something to be feared. It's something to be studied, because everything you want, clarity, strength, growth, sits on the other side of discomfort. And the person who avoids it avoids becoming who they're meant to be. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." If that's true, then the discomfort you feel today is not an interruption. It's the curriculum. It's the training ground. And once you expect it, it loses the power to break you, because surprise is what opens the door to suffering. But when you expect discomfort, you walk into it prepared, not as a victim, but as a student. You begin to see pain differently, not as something to run from, but something to walk through with presence, with attention. You begin to ask, what is this moment trying to teach me? Where is the resistance in my mind, and why? The Stoic does not flinch from the burn. He leans into it, knowing that it's shaping something deeper than comfort ever could. Think of Nelson Mandela. Decades in prison, isolated, degraded, stripped of freedom. But instead of becoming bitter, he became better. Because he chose to meet pain with intention, he said, "I am not a saint unless you think of a saint as a sinner who keeps on trying." That's Stoicism in action. You don't become free by avoiding hardship. You become free by learning to carry it without complaint. This affirmation doesn't glamorize suffering. It dignifies it. It reminds you that hardship isn't the enemy. In fact, what breaks most people is not the weight itself. It's the resistance to the weight. But once you stop resisting and start receiving, everything changes. The pain becomes data. The discomfort becomes direction. You stop asking, "When will this end?" and start asking, "How can I grow from this?" To expect discomfort is to armor your peace. Because now, Nothing catches you off guard. You expect slow progress, you expect criticism, you expect tension, and when it arrives, you welcome it like an old teacher. Not because it feels good, but because it makes you better. You do not become wise by reading alone. You become wise by being tested, by heartbreak, by uncertainty, by loss. And when you meet those trials with presence instead of panic, reflection instead of resentment, you grow beyond the moment. You build a kind of inner architecture that doesn't collapse when life gets heavy. That is what Stoicism prepares you for, a life where pain doesn't control you. So today, say it with quiet power. I expect discomfort, and I welcome the lesson in it. I do not need ease to stay grounded. I do not need approval to stay aligned. I need only one thing, the courage to face life as it is, not as I wish it to be. Number 8, my peace does not require permission. Peace is not given, it is claimed. And too often we live as if our peace depends on other people behaving well, on them being kind, being fair, being honest. But the Stoics saw this for what it is, slavery to external conditions. True freedom begins the moment you realize that your calm is not up for negotiation. Epictetus said it plainly. It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them. If your mind decides that someone's rudeness must make you angry, then your peace belongs to them. If your sense of worth depends on praise or apology, then you've handed your inner world over to people who may never treat it with care. The Stoic path begins when you take it back. You start drawing your boundary, not with anger, but with clarity. You stop explaining your peace. You stop justifying your silence. You realize that other people's approval is not the price of your serenity. And once that clicks, your life begins to change. You stop being reactive. You stop waiting. You stop begging for closure or fairness or recognition. You return to your own breath, your own values, your own choices. That's where peace is, not in the world's hands, in yours. Think of Maya Angelou. She endured racism, abuse, betrayal, and yet her voice was steady, her presence was grounded. Why? Because she learned that peace does not come from being untouched by the world. It comes from refusing to let the world invade your spirit, she said. I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it. That is Stoic clarity. That is emotional sovereignty. To say, my peace does not require permission is not arrogance. It's ownership. It means you no longer hand out keys to your inner house. You don't need someone to apologize before you calm down. You don't need someone to understand you before you feel whole. You simply return to your center again and again because it belongs to you. This doesn't mean you don't feel hurt. It means you don't stay there. It doesn't mean you don't speak truth. It means you choose when and how, with composure. That's real power. The kind that doesn't shout, the kind that doesn't seek validation, the kind that sits deeply rooted, unmoved by chaos. Remember this, when your peace is built on unshakable values, no one can revoke it. Not their silence, not their approval, not their chaos. You walk through the world like a mountain, still, anchored, and complete. That is not indifference, that is self-mastery. So today, say it with conviction. My peace does not require permission. I will not outsource my calm to chaos. I will not rent my clarity to noise. My peace is mine, and no one else needs to understand it for it to be real. Number 9, I will act with purpose, not drift with emotion. Emotions are natural, but when left unchecked, they become storms, loud, blinding, and directionless. The Stoics never denied emotion. They simply refused to be governed by it. To act with purpose means that you choose direction before emotion chooses it for you. When you wake up angry, anxious, or overwhelmed, your first instinct is to react, to text back, to lash out, to shut down. But Stoicism invites a pause, a moment between feeling and doing, because not every emotion deserves a reaction, and not every reaction deserves your energy. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. That is emotional discipline, to filter your impulse through purpose, to ask, does this align with who I want to be? Will this move me forward or pull me deeper into noise? We've all said things we regret, not because we meant them, but because we were consumed by the moment. Emotion makes everything feel urgent, but urgency is often a trap. It pulls you out of reason and into reaction. It convinces you that acting now, anyhow, is better than acting wisely. The Stoic disagrees. To act with purpose is to reclaim your compass. Your principles become your anchor. Your character becomes your map. You respond not because you're triggered, but because you've thought. Not because you feel like it, but because it's aligned with your deeper aim. Think of Fred Rogers, calm, consistent, deeply principled. In every word and gesture, there was intention. He faced political pressure, criticism, even ridicule. But he didn't react emotionally. He responded with purpose. His power wasn't in volume. It was in alignment, in knowing who he was, and never letting noise pull him off course. This affirmation does not ask you to suppress feeling. It asks you to steer it, to feel anger but not become it, to feel sadness but still move forward, to feel pressure but not lose your posture. That is the mark of a grounded mind. Purpose gives you direction when emotion tries to spin you in circles. And once you commit to it daily, not as a performance, but as a discipline, you begin to feel a shift. You become less rattled by insults, less seduced by applause, less hijacked by sudden feelings. You're no longer at the mercy of every wave. You become the ship, not the storm. You lead yourself. So today, before you act, pause, breathe, ask, is this the action of who I aspire to be? Or is it just a reflex of emotion? And if it's not worthy of you, let it go. Say it with intention. I will act with purpose, not drift with emotion. I am not my triggers. I am not my temporary feelings. I am my values. And I move forward by choice, not by chaos. Number 10. No opinion today will define me, not praise, not blame. There is a silent trap we all fall into, living for applause and shrinking from judgment. One minute you feel on top of the world because someone praised your work. The next you're questioning your worth because someone criticized your tone. But the Stoic knows. Neither voice speaks the truth because truth doesn't live in someone else's mouth. It lives in your integrity. Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because the path to growth often looks strange to people who haven't walked it. And if your peace depends on being understood, you'll never walk far. This affirmation is not about becoming numb to feedback. It's about becoming immune to identity theft. When you let every compliment define your value and every insult define your reality, you've outsourced your soul. You're a mirror, not a person, reflecting, reacting, but never rooted. To live with Stoic clarity is to stay grounded in your principles. Whether they clap or criticize, you know who you are, and that knowing cannot be bought or borrowed. Think of Eleanor Roosevelt. She was hated, adored, mocked, and revered. But through it all, she acted from conviction, not consensus. She once said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." That's more than a quote. That's emotional armor. It means you hold the pen, you write your script. You see, both praise and blame are forms of control. One makes you dependent, the other makes you defensive. And either way, you're no longer free. You become a puppet for whoever is loudest in the moment. But the Stoic walks differently. He listens but doesn't absorb. He considers but doesn't cling. He chooses who he is every day, not based on opinion, but on values. This is the kind of strength that doesn't flinch. When they praise you, you say, "Thank you, but I know who I am." When they blame you, you say, "Perhaps let me reflect, but I know who I am." This inner steadiness is not pride, it's sovereignty. You no longer ride the emotional roller coaster of other people's impressions. It's easy to believe we are only as good as our last success or as bad as our last failure. But the Stoic knows you are not your reputation, you are your decisions. And the day you stop being defined by noise is the day you begin to walk in freedom. That is the quiet dignity of someone who knows themselves deeply and doesn't need the world to confirm it. So today, remind yourself with resolve. No opinion today will define me. Not praise, not blame. I walk by principle, not popularity. I will not rise too high when they approve, nor sink too low when they disapprove. I remain steady because I remain true. Number 11. I am not entitled to ease, I am here to grow. Ease is seductive. It whispers comfort, escape, and rest. But growth, real growth, comes from friction. And the Stoic does not resent that friction. He welcomes it as the terrain of transformation, because to seek only ease is to remain small. But to meet resistance with discipline, that is how you become more than you were. Seneca warned against soft living. He wrote, "It is in times of security that the soul should prepare itself for difficulty." Why? Because hardship is not an interruption of life. It is a feature of it. And those who expect smooth paths are the first to break when they meet a real hill. This affirmation is a hard truth, but it's also a powerful reframe. You're not being punished by life. You're being shaped, just as a sculptor must strike the marble to reveal the form beneath. Life will strike you, not to destroy you, but to define you. Most people wait for ideal conditions to improve. The Stoic improves under any condition, even in loss, even in pressure, even in solitude, especially in solitude, because the fire that tempers the steel of character isn't warm, it burns. Think of Viktor Frankl. He suffered unimaginable pain in a concentration camp, but he did not crumble. He found meaning in suffering, and he said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." This is not about comparing pain. It's about recognizing the raw truth. You don't need ease to become strong. You need meaning, and meaning is forged in fire. To believe you are entitled to ease is to set yourself up for despair, because life will not cooperate with that belief. It will challenge you. It will disappoint you. But if you meet those moments with the mindset of a student, not a victim, you will grow beyond what comfort could ever teach you. So today, drop the illusion that growth should feel good, that it should be linear or fair or soft. Real growth is jagged. It asks you to bend, to bleed, to rebuild. But when you say yes to that process without complaint, you earn a strength that cannot be faked. Ease may feel safe, but it rarely makes you proud. It's the struggle you overcame, the discomfort you endured, that becomes your strength. The days you showed up when you didn't feel like it, the moments you kept going without applause, that's where your character is forged. That's where the real you is born, and no one can give you that. It must be earned in the fire. Say it with courage. I am not entitled to ease. I am here to grow. I will not confuse comfort with purpose or pain with failure. I welcome the work of becoming because I know the reward is not what I get, but who I become. Number 12. Whatever happens, I will handle it calmly, wisely, completely. You don't get to choose what life throws at you, but you always choose how you meet it. That's where your power is, not in control over events, but in command over response. When you say, "Whatever happens, I will handle it," you are not pretending things won't be hard. You are affirming that your character is harder. This is the final line of defense. When nothing goes as planned, when emotions rise, people disappoint, and outcomes shift. This is the moment where most unravel. But the Stoic doesn't. He breathes. He observes. He steps forward with presence, not panic. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That strength is what this affirmation anchors. Calm is not weakness. Wisdom is not delay. Completion is not perfection. It is follow through with dignity. Think of Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison, stripped of freedom, rights, time. Yet he emerged not with rage, but with resolve. He handled injustice calmly. He met history wisely. He completed a journey that could have broken him, but instead, he broke the cycle. That is the full arc of response: to stay intact, to act with clarity, to finish with integrity. This final affirmation brings everything together. It is not just about composure, it is about readiness. You are not caught off guard because you no longer live in denial about life's unpredictability. You are not overwhelmed because you no longer outsource your power to outcomes. You are centered, not by certainty, but by the certainty of your response. To handle something calmly means you refuse to multiply chaos. To handle it wisely means you apply principle, not impulse. And to handle it completely means you do not avoid what must be faced. You go through it all the way without leaving yourself behind. Most people wait for the storm to pass before they find their peace. But the Stoic trains to become peace within the storm. It's not about avoiding difficulty. It's about responding to it with such clarity that difficulty becomes the training ground of strength. You may not get to control how the day unfolds, but you do get to decide what kind of person shows up. Calm is not passive, it is power under control. Wisdom is not distant, it is intimacy with what truly matters. And completion doesn't mean ease. It means you stayed with the process until your character was revealed. So today, repeat it with unshakable conviction. Whatever happens, I will handle it. Not with rage, not with fear, but with calm, with wisdom, with full presence. I will not be fragmented by surprises. I will not be rushed into reaction. I will not be pulled away from myself. Because storms may come, but I remain the stillness in the center. I am not here to control everything. I am here to respond to anything with clarity, with strength, with peace. You've just anchored yourself in 12 Stoic affirmations, 12 truths to carry into each day with strength and clarity. But remember, it's not the words that transform you. It's the repetition, the reflection, the way you return to these principles when life tries to pull you away from them. So come back to this each morning, not for hype, but for grounding. And if this helped you recenter your mind, do one thing now, like subscribe and share this with someone who needs to begin again. Calm, clear, and unshaken. Your discipline is your peace. Your thoughts are your power. Guard them well.